The myth that we want to bust today is all programmers are gamers. A lot of them are, but less than it used to be. Oh. Let's define the word gamer. What is a gamer? People who play games, who likes to play a game, and that their hobby. So gaming is considered hobby, right? And why this is kind of a myth is that back old days, old times, it felt like only programmers could use computers at the time. Long time ago, guys. Long time ago. Maybe in like the 1990s. You know, with the Macintosh and everything. And the only people who could use computers were programmers. So, since they could only use computers, they were like, oh! And then they see all these like old, you know, CMD looking like screen. And then they're like, oh, you can play games. They're like, oh, the people who can actually play like computer games or any type of games would be programmers. People are still thinking that this is true these days, especially because programmers are, they know their computers well. That's what we think of when we think of programmers. They're like, oh, like they could probably fix something or like hack into my system. They have that ability, so they probably are really good at playing games like League of Legends or Overwatch because, I don't know, maybe they type fast, they have fast hand movement because they program. It's probably the idea that everyone's getting. Now, programmers, what do you guys think about this? People think programmers are nerds. Nerds play Dungeons and Dragons, therefore programmers are gamers. Is that how it goes? I'd say maybe making it up 30 to 40% got into program to be game dev. I actually would agree with that too. Cause I know a lot of people who did programming just to develop games. I'm not even gonna say that. I feel like if you are programming, they're more prone to be exposed to gaming. And who doesn't like gaming? If that's true. That's a good point. I agree with that. So because you have to be with your computer and they probably search more. Nowadays they did have phones, but back then when phones weren't even like developed this like high quality, high tech, if you're an athlete, you're rarely on your phone, and even if you're on your phone, the only thing you could probably do was like text people. So I guess they're more outside, like enjoying like the world, while programmers were probably, sitting at their computer mostly doing stuff, and they get used to it. I personally got interested because of modding games. Oh, however, I quickly switched interest whenever I learned my first language. Oh. What's interesting is that nerds and gamers were really looked down in the 90s. Yeah, so in the 90s, guys, if you were a gamer, people were like, damn, you're such a nerd. And apparently nerd was a bad term back then. Not all programmers are gamers. Some simply don't have time to play for gaming anymore. I mean, yeah. So we might have to think about the time, and I think age matters a lot. Honestly, I'm a heavy gamer, guys, but ever since I've been streaming and editing my videos, I just don't have time. I rarely play games. Even I stopped playing Lost Ark because it was just time consuming. So I think the age matters if you're considered gamers. However, if we're thinking like in the early 20s, or if you're majoring in programming, like, don't you think they are also like, I think they'd have time. Have known some programmers who don't seem to even like computers that much. Definitely not enthusiasts, let alone want to spend time gaming on them though. But I definitely think gaming and programming have connection, like what Secretary said, gaming and like, because they're more exposed to computers. So programmers, even at young age, programmers are exposed to computers, and that if you do a bit of searching, I bet they'll find games. So I think it's like the other case where it's like, some programmers, it's really rare, I feel like, to see a a programmer who's not into games. Normally, if you're not into games, they're in different fields. But yeah, a lot of programmers that I've met with did really like games. Game is more accessible than planning a night out and a meetup. That's true. It's easier to meet people through games than going out and scheduling where you're gonna go. And guys, gaming is less expensive than going out and partying, guys, because even if a game is like $50, if you go out every single day or every single weekend, you could easily spend $50. So honestly, I think gaming isn't that bad. Like being a gamer or playing games isn't that bad. What type of game makes you a gamer? That's also a great question. So do we even count like tic-tac-toe or Minesweep as games? Or are we thinking like computer games? Like hardcore games like League of Legends? Yeah, I think mobile game is definitely considered gaming at this point. Like some of the mobile game is so high good quality, like very good quality. Honestly, I think any games that people are having competitions, I would consider games. Or any casual games, like if you play Diablo, that's also considered game, but they don't really hold competitions about it. I'd say if you spend more than 4 hours at time playing this game, you're a gamer. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, if you're a gamer or not, is that if you play more than 4 hours of a game, then you are a gamer. If you're including mobile and other casual game, then too many people in general play those. Yeah, because I mean, there's also board games too, and you probably play more than 4 hours, especially if it's like an RPG. But I still think those people are considered gamers. Gaming is a waste of time? I don't think so. It's like saying watching streamer is a waste of time. Like, we watch a lot of streamers because it really is a good way to watch something without thinking too much. So we can't say gaming is a waste of time because that's considered a hobby. Conclusion wise, I personally think that it's somewhat true. All programmers are more likely to be exposed to games, and that it is easy for them to become a gamer. Not probably all of them, but I feel like most of them. And that gaming isn't a bad thing. If you are, playing games as a hobby, we're gonna consider it as a hobby now since 2022, guys. If you don't play games, you're kind of out of the loop now. So yeah, I would say this is somewhat not really busted, and that it's kind of true. And it's also not a bad thing, guys, that people play games.